The Kia Seltos needs no introduction unless of course you've been living under a rock, which certainly is not the case as you're watching this on YouTube, which means you're tech savvy like this car. But then this is not the top spec version but a mid-spec variant, and it loses out on some features. But then does it make it less tech savvy, or does it make sense to opt for this one? Let's find out. We'll start off with its exterior. But before that, please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already and press the bell icon to never miss an update from us. The Seltos is now popular and goes unmistakable for its styling, design and overall proportions. However, this is not the top of the line variant and is slightly different. For example, it misses out on the shiny bits and even for that matter, the matte exterior that you get with the X-Line trim.
However, the star map design for the headlamps is evident. The shape of the bumpers remains identical, but the air dams are styled differently. There are no LED lamps, only projector units. Still, the auto function is available, as in they can detect daylight and switch on or switch off.
This one rides on smaller 16-inch wheels, which by the way are smaller in comparison to the 17-inch ones on the top spec Seltos. But then these are still big enough and fill the wheel wells quite nicely. How they affect the ride quality, that we'll discuss in the performance bit.
The silhouette is unchanged, and at the back is where you can again see the star map LED design again with a connected LED strip. Then it continues to get a chunky bumper with a skid plate.
Inside, the Seltos is a spacious car and nothing really has changed in this lower variant in terms of room and overall layout. So what you have is a large and comfortable cabin which is comparable even with its competition.
You can compare cars on our website. As you can see here, the Seltos is the longest and widest amongst the Hyundai Creta, Maruti Suzuki Grand Vitara and the Honda Elevate. The roominess can be felt as soon as you step in. Its cabin is fuss-free, offers good outward visibility and has on-point ergonomics. It's the most comfortable for 4 occupants, and even 5 people on board are manageable without feeling cramped.
Even in the second row, there is good space. For example, decent knee room, headroom and shoulder space. The seat is nicely reclined for a comfortable space. Plus, there are dedicated air vents, 2 USB ports, C-type ones and a place to keep your phone. Moreover, it even gets these sunblind options. Now, the seat upholstery is in black, so you don't really feel the cabin to be quite airy and spacious. But then you have this huge panoramic sunroof which doesn't make you feel you are in a lower spec car. But then you are in the mid-spec variant, and that you realize when you don't get seat pack pockets, there's no center armrest to keep your hand or cup holders. Also, you do not get a heads-up display, a wireless charging pad or a purifier, and there is a smaller screen.
But this smaller screen still has all the functions: wireless Android Auto and CarPlay, mood lighting, reverse camera, etc. It caters to your infotainment needs by a fair bit. The only absence of equipment that is a disadvantage is the lack of ventilated seats. Otherwise, the cabin is a nice place to be in with a nicely laid out dash. We've said this earlier, and even after so many years, the Seltos continues to look refreshing. It had rightly set a benchmark of what we've come to expect from SUVs these days, be it for fit and finish, look and feel, and in general, the quality of materials used inside. And it continues to do so even in the lower trims. In terms of boot space, the area is the same as the top spec Seltos. However, there are no split folding rear seats but a single backrest as seen in the lower variants. You can drop this backrest flat, so there's still an option to liberate more space even if you lose the versatility to partly use this space in different ways. That said, the 433 liters of boot space is one of the best in its segment with a wide opening for a long and tall boot. Now, let's make a quick side-by-side comparison with the Hyundai Creta Petrol CVT, Maruti Suzuki Grand Vitara and the Honda Elevate, all automatics in the same price bracket. Even when we consider the competition with equivalent pricing, the Seltos IVT offers a fair amount of features and doesn't give a chance to point out that something is missing or can be a deal breaker. For this detailed comparison, you can visit our website with the comparison link mentioned in the description of this video. Powertrain choices for the Seltos in general include a wide variety of combinations. For example, there's a 113 bhp 1.5-litre turbo diesel engine that comes mated to either a 6-speed manual or a 6-speed torque converter automatic. Then, there's a 158 bhp 1.5-litre turbo petrol unit mated to either a 6-speed manual or a 7-speed DCT automatic gearbox. And finally, there's another petrol model in the form of this 1.5-litre naturally aspirated petrol mill that produces 113 bhp of power and 144 Nm of torque. It comes with various transmission options like a 6-speed manual and this, a CVT auto gearbox which we are sampling.
We'll also tell you about the real world mileage of this variant, but before that, let's speak about the performance of this powertrain.
The engine noise can hardly be heard inside the cabin as it settles into a quiet idling once started. It's a rev-happy and refined engine with a linear power delivery. It isn't quick off the mark, and even if it takes time to progress, it never felt underpowered. The CVT transmission makes things effortless with no gear shifts to take care of or even a clutch pedal to add to the wooze.
This gearbox is smooth. In fact, it's a CVT, so it's seamless. You don't feel the gear shifts. And unless you're revving it too hard, you can't hear the gearbox whine or even the engine noise for that matter. And be it the eco, normal or the sport mode, it is quite responsive. Another thing is, even if it is a continuous variable transmission, the car maker has given 7 steps to it, which can be managed through the paddle shifters or the gear lever, which is basically to give you a more connected feel and an engaging driving experience. Speaking of engagement, well, the steering is nice and light. Yes, with 3 turns lock to lock, it is not the quickest, but then it still doesn't give you a feeling or takes more of your efforts in driving. It feels more like you're driving a car. It's that friendly.
The body roll is manageable even while going around bends fast, and it remains stable without making the driver or the occupants nervous. That is whether you are driving slow or doing triple-digit speeds. But then, drive it sanely and you will see how capable this soft-roader is, even in the broken and uneven conditions that our roads have to offer.
Then, the 16-inch wheels and the 190 mm ground clearance, this combination gives it sufficient space to go over obstacles without scraping the underbody.
Besides, its suspension setup is well tuned for our road conditions, taking potholes and broken roads in its stride with ease. Though a little on the firmer side, it irons out any bouncy feel and offers a well-balanced ride. Now for the fuel efficiency, we don't have the claim figures, but we set out to test the real-world mileage nonetheless. In the city, we covered a distance of 78.1 km and the SUV consumed 7.5 liters of petrol. That calculates to a real-world figure of 10.3 kmpl, while the MID was indicating a mileage of 10.8 kmpl. This is satisfactory for a mid-sized petrol SUV weighing 1300 kg. Meanwhile, on the highway, the Seltos IVT logged 79.8 km with a fuel consumption of 5.08 liters, while the MID displayed 16.3 kmpl The actual figures turned out to be 15.7 kmpl. Not bad again, with an estimated full tank driving range of over 500 km.
So we've got a perspective why the Seltos is popular, and you can start with the small bits. Even in this lower variant, you don't really miss on many things. Let's start with the driving seat. You get a manual height adjust, whereas the top spec version gets electronic controlled features, which is a novelty. But then you have this option. The steering wheel doesn't have adjust for telescopic, but then it is adjustable for tilt, and with the right amount of height that I need, I can get to the ideal driving position. View of the surrounding outside is good. You have a nice large glass area. Also, coming in terms of ergonomics, everything is within reach. The AC panel, yes, you don't get dual zone climate control, but there is automatic climate control. You can set it according to your need. Next, if you have to talk about the steering wheel, this one still gets a leather wrapped one, which gives a nice feel. Speaking of the leather bits, yes, there's no soft dashboard, but then it looks and feels nice and premium. As for the instrument cluster, unlike the old one which had analog dials, this one has the instrument cluster from the Kerens, which is a digital cluster, and it has quite a lot of information up there. What I missed about the steering wheel is it still gets multi-functional steering wheel, which has these buttons for your infotainment. There's even cruise control. Then speaking of the infotainment screen, yes, it's a small screen, but then it has got all basic features: Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. Android Auto is wireless now. If you look at the screen, it even gets ambient lighting options. You do not get a 360-degree camera, but then it has a reverse camera with dynamic guidelines. Another thing that we noticed about this screen is, which we have to applaud Kia, what they have done is, when you're running Android Auto with navigation and there is a warning or a sign that indicates, as in the voice instruction, that maybe there's a right turn, it doesn't play through all the speakers, but one through the speaker near the driver, so that the actual instructions are clearly passed down to the driver while the other occupants continue to listen to the music. However, there are two features which are missing, and I think at least they are making me feel the pinch. These are two features which could have been brought from the top spec variant. One are auto dimming mirrors and ventilated seats. The latter feature is proving to be a boon in this hot climate of ours. So overall, to sum it up, the Seltos gives me more reasons to buy it. It compels me to buy it rather than avoid it. And I'm talking about this mid-spec variant, which also falls into a price bracket where I am not really spending too much for the top spec variants. So there you have it. So many reasons to consider the Seltos. Well, Kia Motors has also provided different options of variants for prospective buyers to choose from, and that too at different price points. That is why it is so popular, and you can see so many of them out there on the road. If you've liked this video, do give a thumbs up and check out our other videos too. Thanks for watching.